Hey guys, this is Miss Harlequin, and in this video I am going to be reading one of the test passages from the 2015 New York State ELA exam for 7th graders. It's called Excerpt from the Mozart Season, and then I'm going to be going through the questions and thinking aloud how I would select the correct answer. Alright, so here I see that there are some directions here that are in italics. Whenever I see something like this above the title, I know that it's actually kind of part of the story. You have to read it. It's going to give you some insight into the passage, especially when it's an excerpt. Usually this is going to give you some background context that you need to know about the entire book in order to understand the excerpt. Allegra Shapiro is 12 years old and lives in Portland, Oregon. She is waiting for her turn to compete in the block competition, where she will be playing music by Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart, 1756 to 1791, a famous classical composer. In order to play well and to focus both before and during her performance, Allegra pictures images in her mind. Often she imagines her beloved great-grandmother, Elter Bubby Leah. All right, so this is Excerpt from the Mozart Season by Virginia Ewer Wolf. As I looked at the keyboard of the piano, my mind tried to empty itself. It tried to pour all my thoughts down a chute of some kind. I could feel them sliding away, like a big balloon deflating, like a tank of something emptying. I felt my eyes bug out with the shock of it, and I saw my arms reach out to catch what was emptying out of me. I stood there looking at the space between my arms and tried to find Mozart. I closed my eyes and looked for the first movement first. There it was, with its cadenza. Second movement. Third. They were there, with their notes in order, with Mr. Kaplan's blue markings on the pages. Very strange, my mind doing that. I picked up my violin and played the third movement cadenza. It was there, solid. It hadn't gone off anywhere. I wrapped Elter Bubby Leah's purse in its tissue paper and put it back in my violin case. I went down the hallway to the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror. I was just a person in a blue dress standing in dim light in a public bathroom next to a towel machine. I turned around and went back to room 104 and sat down with my violin and bow in my hand. The envelope woman came and got me, and we walked down the hall and then down the stairs and then through a heavy door. Suddenly the lights were very bright and the floor was very polished, and there was a line of screens on my right. Several screens were lined up so the jury couldn't see any part of me, even my feet. The woman pointed to where I was supposed to stand. I went to the spot and stood. It was the place Steve Landauer, number 3, had just walked away from. I suddenly remembered Alice in Wonderland getting smaller and smaller. I propped myself firmly on my feet, looked down at them. They were the same size they'd been 5 minutes before, and I knew I wasn't shrinking. I decided to look at the vertical line down one of the screens. A man's voice came from the other side of the screens. "Number 4, you may begin when you're ready." I thumbed my strings and heard the D string, a shade flat. While I was tuning it, I closed my eyes and saw Elter Bubby Leah's photograph with the purse and the goose and the broom. And into my vision came a teenage hand with a quill pen in it, just at the edge of the photograph. Music being written. I listened in my mind for the rhythm, and I took a medium-sized breath and started. The start was a good one. Notes came up out of the violin on time. In time. Things weren't blurred. It was fun. Through the notes, I saw Elter Bubby Leah shooing her geese up a slope with her broom in Poland. The notes went scooting along. It was strange. I was able to hear every note clearly, every group of 16th notes, every little sforzando, and at the same time I was seeing a movie of pastures and the little house in Suprazil. The second movement. How many times Heavenly and I had gone to sleep listening to it, with our arms around each other. I reached inside my body for the key change and the rhythm change, and I felt for the gentleness of it. I saw Leah, a little girl in a long white nightgown, climbing into her bed by candlelight, and I took a medium-sized breath and played. The notes sounded like little flickerings of flame from the candle, little bright lights floating in a dark room. I played it for her to drop off to sleep in her feather bed, with her braids spread out on the pillow. The third movement, the rondeau. If you turn on the radio just in time to hear this movement, you think it's such a happy thing. Those alternating sections, dances. And yet, when you pay close attention, there's a kind of fragile sound, as if something's going to break somewhere, but you don't know where. And little silences come up between the sections. I looked into what was going on in my mind, and I saw the early morning waking Leah up with the sun coming in. A blessing. I took a medium-sized breath and began. She woke up in the sunshine, and she was a real girl in a real house. And I could see the grass and the flowers growing as she walked outside. And I could feel the solid ground under her feet. And during the cadenza, she was scampering along very happy. And I got so carried away with the little girl in the story in my mind that I played an E sharp a little bit askew. My finger came down on it too sideways. But I was happy. I was happy with the sounds of Mozart coming up out of the wood. And as I moved toward the ending, it felt right. The last 3 notes came out just the way I liked them, balanced even, each one of them getting softer until the last one just skips away into the air. I took my violin down off my shoulder. I was in Portland, Oregon, and I'd just finished doing what I'd promised and feared to do. I was 12 years old, standing with my 2 feet on the floor and my arms hanging down. I might never even tell anybody. About Leah and her goose and her feather bed in my mind. A whole story of her had happened inside the music. I looked down at the scroll of my violin. It's like a seashell, as if there's such a story inside that you can never find out all of it. A man's voice came from the other side of the screen. Thank you, number 4. All right, so we start with question number 8. Question 8 says lines 1 through 8 contribute to the reader's understanding of the story by. All right, so the first thing you have to do is you have to reread the section of the text that the question is asking you to focus on. That is the first paragraph. So we know that here this is about Allegra. She's about to start her concert. As I looked at the keyboard of the piano, my mind tried to empty itself. All right, so she's getting ready for the performance. I tried to pour all my thoughts down a chute of some kind. I could feel them sliding away, like a big balloon deflating, like a tank of something emptying. I felt my eyes bug out with the shock of it, and I saw my arms reach out to catch what was emptying out of me. I stood there looking at the space between my arms and tried to find Mozart. I closed my eyes and looked at the first movement first. There it was with its cadenza. Second movement, third. So I was trying to remember the music. So I can see that she's just preparing for the concert. She's feeling a little nervous, definitely, because look at how she's describing the emptying, like a balloon deflating. She reaches her arms out to try to catch it, so it's a little jarring. And she's also trying to make sure that she remembers all the different parts of the music that she's about to play. All right, so does this allow the reader to immediately understand Allegra's state of mind? Well, yeah. I mean, that is kind of what I was just doing. I'm understanding what she's feeling, what she's going through as she prepares for the concert. Does it share the frustration Allegra feels? Well, I don't see her feeling frustrated. That's a very extreme word to describe what she's going through here. It's not frustration. Emphasizing how important it is for Allegra to empty her mind. Well, no one's saying it's important for her to empty her mind. It's something that she's doing. And even if it is important, she's not emphasizing. If you're emphasizing it, you would be repeating it. You would be using really strong language like, I've got to do this. I've got to empty my mind. She's not really saying that. I think this is a distractor answer. Suggesting that Allegra's surroundings are less important than her feelings. Well, there's really not a comparison to where she is. That's not really emphasized or very important here. So this is not correct. I'm going to go with my original instinct, which was A. All right, question 9. Why does Allegra think of Alice in Wonderland in lines 20 through 23? All right, so again, you go back to where those lines are, and I can see that those lines are actually part of this entire paragraph. So questions like these are a little bit misleading. Yes, they're asking you to focus on particular lines, but if those lines are part of a larger paragraph, it's actually in your best interest to reread the entire paragraph. Because a lot of times it's the buildup of the story, it's the surrounding sentences, the context of what's happening to the character, what's going on in that scene. All of that together actually kind of informs the specific lines you're looking at. Lines 20 to 23, when you look back at them, They just actually describe her remembering Alice in Wonderland, but it doesn't really tell you why. You have to look at the other sentences. What's going on in this part of the story? Why does she remember Alice in Wonderland? The envelope woman came and got me, and we walked down the hall and then down the stairs and then through a heavy door. Suddenly the lights were very bright and the floor was very polished, and there was a line of screens on my right. Several screens were lined up so the jury couldn't see any part of me, even my feet. The woman pointed to where I was supposed to stand. I went to the spot and stood. It was the place Stephen Landauer, number 3, had just walked away from. I suddenly remembered Alice in Wonderland getting smaller and smaller. All right, so if I was Allegra, and I know from previous paragraphs that she's getting ready for the performance, I know she's nervous. I knew that from the very, very beginning when she's trying to empty her mind and make sure she remembers the music. So if she's nervous, and then we have these long, drawn-out descriptions of her getting to her spot on stage, the entire time I was reading this, I felt like if I was her, I'm nervous. I feel like time is slowing down because everything's taking so long that nervousness is building up. So if I felt like I was getting smaller and smaller, it would be because I'm nervous. And so now I'm going to try to find an answer that matches that. The size of the room makes her feel extremely small. No mention of the size of the room. She's so nervous that she feels as if she might be shrinking. This matches everything I thought about when I put myself in Allegra's shoes, when I remembered the previous paragraphs, and when I experienced this paragraph. She feels uncomfortable with the jury behind the line of screens. I mean, maybe, but there's nothing here to make me think that. And the boy before her makes her feel unsure because of his skillful playing. No, there's nothing here that alludes to that. So I'm going to go with my first answer choice, B. Question 10. Based on lines 27 through 31, which statement best explains how the photograph helps Allegra? All right, so when we go back to the passage, which of course we have to do, we find that lines 27 through 31 are this entire paragraph. So we want to see how the photograph is helping Allegra, which means there must be a problem, which if I go back to the previous questions, I already know what the problem is. She's a little bit nervous. The whole story up until now has been developing that. I thumbed my strings and heard the D string a shade flat. While I was tuning it, I closed my eyes and saw Elter Bubby Leia's photograph with the purse and the goose and the broom, and into my vision came a teenage hand with a quill pen in it, just at the edge of the photograph, music being written. I listened in my mind for the rhythm, and I took a medium-sized breath and started. All right, so remembering her grandmother and imagining her grandmother writing music actually helps her begin. So I'm going to say that this is, since she was nervous, if she's starting and she takes a breath, usually people take a breath when they're nervous and they want to calm down. And she's focusing on the music and the rhythm that she has to play. So that shows that the photograph is kind of calming her down. It inspires a vision that prepares her for performing the music. Well, that's pretty close to what happens. It reminds her that her great-grandmother was a teenage musician like her. I mean, yes, it does. This is an okay answer. But the fact that it calms her down so that she can play the music is a better answer choice. So this, I think, is the distractor. It provides a memory that creates a mood of disappointment. All right, that's clearly the opposite. She's not disappointed. It prompts her to recall a pleasant time composing music with her great-grandmother. There's nothing in this memory that says she's writing the music with her great-grandmother. So this is misleading. The fact that it's a pleasant time, yeah, of course it's pleasant. That's meant to trick you right there. So again, I'm going to go with the better answer based on me rereading and thinking through what I saw Allegra doing and feeling. The answer is A. 11. In line 41, the narrator compares the musical notes to flickerings of flame from the candle to show that the sounds are. All right, again, you've got another question where they're giving you the specific line that has the text evidence, but once again, you would be remiss if you only looked at that one line. You really need to look at the entire paragraph that that line is located in so that you get the entire context. What's going on in this part of the story? What is leading up to the description of the musical notes to flames? The second movement. How many times Heavenly and I had gone to sleep listening to it? So now she's actually playing. So this is during the performance. This is what she's thinking and feeling as she plays. I reached inside my body for the key change and the rhythm change, and I felt for the gentleness of it. So playing the music is being described as gentle, as she changes from one key to another. I saw Leah, her great-grandmother, a little girl in a long white nightgown, climbing into her bed by candlelight, and I took a medium-sized breath and played. The notes sounded like little flickerings of flame. All right, the fact that they're little, the word flickering, when something's flickering, it's actually kind of nice if you were by the flickering flame of a candle. It's kind of creates this mood that I think even this word gentle that's used early in the paragraph kind of matches. So is it strong and powerful? No, not a flickering. Flickering is the opposite of strong. Gentle and delicate? Yeah. When I think of the flickering flame and the fact that they use gentle in the paragraph, this is the best answer. Is it quick and changeable? Well, it's flickering. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's changing. When the light flickers, it's just kind of going in and out, off and on. And I don't really actually think of flickering as, well, flickerings are quick, actually. This is a distractor answer. Sad and brief. No, there's no reason that flickering flame has to make you think of sadness. B is the best answer choice there. All right, 12. The author's repetition of Allegra taking a medium-sized breath. All right, well, I actually already looked at that, right? When I looked at a previous question. See, that's another important test-taking skill. A lot of times the questions build on each other, and things that you looked at to answer a previous question can help you answer this one. When I looked at medium-sized breath, I said that this was a way to calm herself down and get ready to play. Is it agitation? No. When you take a deep breath or any kind of breath, it's not because you're agitated. It's the opposite. You're trying to calm down. Release and finally performing? No, because it keeps being repeated. If she only took the breath right before she played, then this could be an answer choice. Controlled focus during her performance? All right. I mean, if it keeps calming her down and it keeps her focused, this could be the answer. Patience in persisting through her performance. All right, what does that really mean? If you're persisting, it means that you're still going even through obstacles. You're like pushing yourself forward. But if I'm pushing myself forward, am I taking breaths to do that? And does taking breaths show that I'm being patient? Well, it could actually. Sometimes you take a breath to calm yourself down because you don't want to explode on somebody. But is that what Allegra's doing during this performance? She's not getting ready to explode. She's just trying to stay focused, remember her music, and do what's right. So it's definitely C. All right, 13. Read these sentences from lines 62 and 63. I look down at the scroll of my violin. It's like a seashell. As if there's such a story inside that you can never find out all of it. This simile suggests that Allegra. All right, so it's a simile. That means it's a comparison. What's being compared? Something's being compared to a seashell. It's the scroll of her violin. All right, so how is the violin like a seashell? As if. All right, so that means right here, this is elaboration. They've made the comparison, and now they're going to tell you exactly how they're similar. As if there's such a story inside that you can never find out. So, in a seashell, you can't really get inside the seashell. There might be something trapped inside. There might be a story. All right, so what does this suggest about the violin? Well, I know that when she's playing her music, also from the rest of the story, she thinks about her grandmother's life. She imagines all this stuff about her grandmother. So the violin and playing the music does connect her to her grandmother and everything her grandmother went through. Does she appreciate her violin as full of possibility for the music she creates with it? Well, if there's a story inside, you can never find it all out. That is possibility. Right? It could be the possibility of all these stories, that if you could just get to them, there's potential for these stories to be told. This looks like a good answer. She wishes she could unleash the secrets her violin hides from her. This is tempting too. But it's not secrets. This might be the wrong word choice. I think this is the distractor answer. She relies on her violin for inspiration during performances. All right, but then that's ignoring the comparison to the story. Respects her violin's beauty and craftsmanship. Again, that might be true, but that has no connection to the fact that she describes a story being trapped inside. So I'm going to go with A. If there's a story that you can never find out all of it, there's a possibility. It's full of possibility. All right, now the final question. Which statement best expresses a theme of the story? All right, so this is again the lesson. Overall, what was this a story about? You have to really kind of get the gist and retell the story to lead you to a lesson. It's about a girl who was going to perform. She was nervous. She feels a connection to her great-grandmother. Playing the music allows her to use her imagination and to imagine her grandmother, who was also a musician, and the life that she led. So it connects her. She's able to use that to keep her focused, to get through the performance, to play her music really great. Possessions can awaken pleasant memories. Okay, this is tempting because the violin is a possession, something that she owns, and she uses that to think about memories of her grandmother. But is it correct to call them memories? I mean, they're not really memories because she didn't know her great-grandmother. She's using her imagination. So this is a tempting answer, but this part means that it's wrong. Focus and determination are essential for success. Yes, this is true. And she did have to focus in order to get through this performance. It seems like it's an audition. However, if this was the theme, then what's all the memories of her grandmother? Like, those memories and all those descriptions of her great-grandmother do not teach this theme. Then they would be unnecessary details. They're irrelevant. Imagination can inspire the emotion behind music. Yes, it made her emotional. She used her imagination about her great-grandmother. Pretty sure this is the answer. Family bonds require regular effort to remain strong. This is ridiculous. They want you to think of family because of the grandmother, but this has nothing to do with her bond to her grandmother remaining strong or that she has to put effort. Like, what effort? This is C. That's the best answer choice. A was definitely the chocolate bar answer meant to distract you.